The Pediatric Lounge, a podcast taking you behind the door of the physician's lounge to get a deeper insight into just what docs are talking about today. From the clinically profound to the wonderfully routine and everything in between. Well, hello again, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pediatric Lounge. With you, your host, Dr. George Rogu, and your co-host, Dr. Herb Bravo. This week, we welcome a future physician, Dr. Jacob, who is a third-year DO medical student at New York IT. He will be sharing with us how the USMLE Part 1 has changed and how research, especially case reports, have a bigger part and impact in admissions to medical schools and residency programs. He will also share with us how he's created an organization that helps medical students and residents connect with clinics to publish case reports. Please welcome him to the show. Good morning, George. How are you today?
How you doing, Dr. Bravo? It's Tuesday morning once again, elevating great physicians, or now physicians in training. We have our Dr. Jacob, my student at the office, is rotating through us in pediatrics, and he's going to tell us about a fascinating project that he's working on.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here.
Morning, Jacob. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, Jacob, what are you doing right now?
I'm a third-year medical student at the New York Institute of Technology, College of Osteopathic Medicine. And I am a third year, like I said, I'm a third-year student rotating. I'm on my rotations.
Yeah.
Great. And one of those rotations is what Dr. Rogu in pediatrics?
That's right.
Well, you probably have seen a lot of dermatology there.
I've seen a lot of everything there. It's a very big practice, and all sorts of cases come in. And he's actually also his clinic is affiliated with Good Sam, so I'm also getting some nice inpatient and outpatient experience.
Very nice. And why did you want to be a doctor?
You know, people have a lot of reasons of why they want to be a doctor. And I think in the top 5, even top 3, one of those reasons should be to heal people, to help people, establish a connection with them. Because medicine, these days, a lot of it is academia. But the core root of medicine is helping people, getting them back on their feet. And like I said, it should be in the person's top 3 reasons. And it's also one of mine. And I just, at the end of the day, I want to make a difference.
Yeah. So Jacob, what do we keep saying when we walk into a room and talk to people? What is the most important thing of being a doctor? Relationships.
That's right.
Relationships and talking to people. This generation of doctor, I fear they don't talk to each other. I had an example of one of his classmates shows up in our office. They never met each other. I said, "You guys know each other?" And they say, "No." I said, "How can you be third year and not know each other? Take the mask off, shake hands, and introduce yourselves." Because they're all stuck on this screen. We gotta put the human back into healthcare. We really do. And talk to people.
In our defense, our class is more than 300 people, but yes.
That's the story I hear all the time.
I just had an interesting observation on that. I was invited to have dinner at a physician's house, and it was 3 of us, and one of the physicians was on his cell phone most of the night.
Yeah.
While we're all having dinner.
Yeah.
And we're not young people. I mean, I'm not talking about 25-year-olds. And the next day we got a text message that just cracked me up from the guy hosting the dinner. He said, "Next time you guys come over for a barbecue in the Cabana, leave your cell phones in the car." I think he's absolutely right. I mean, we're there to have a conversation and, a good time. If you don't want to engage, then don't come over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
let's
it's
engage Dr. Jacob.
Yes, it's a different world. So Jacob, what can you tell me about the application process to medical schools now? Do they require a lot of research?
So applying to medical schools on the MCAS and the AA COMAS and MCAS, there is a section to put in your research experiences. And that's a big thing right now. So for pre-meds and medical students alike, personally, when I applied to medical school, I had a little bit of a tough time getting in because I didn't really know how to do research. And right now, research is more important than ever because the way that medicine is shifting, it's shifting in towards more of an academic side of things.
What do you mean that it's shifting to more an academic side of things?
Well, I can tell you about my experiences as a med student. This year, the USMLE and the COMLEX exams that physicians have to take in order to pass medical schools, Step 1 and COMLEX 1 have transitioned to pass-fail. It is no longer a grade. Now, this puts a lot more emphasis on the extracurriculars that students do, because at the end of their medical school, students have to participate in an application called ELAS. It's an application for residency. And because Step 1 and COMLEX 1 are pass-fail, now more extracurriculars are being taken into account. One of these extracurriculars is research. And research can mean a lot of things. One of the things it means is publications. There are different kinds of publications you can get your name on. These include meta-analyses, review articles, and case studies. And all of these things are now necessary to move on from medical school to residency, as well as they enhance your application going from undergraduate pre-medical to medical school.
So let me back up a little bit. Well, what are they? This is totally new to me, that
Yes.
pass fail. I mean, we used to have scores and sweat out the scores.
Yeah.
What is extracurricular activities? I don't understand why that's part of the test.
So yes, so there are two board examinations in medical school, USMLE Step 1 and COMLEX Level 1, and then USMLE Step 2 and COMLEX Level 2. So both of these used to have scores. Now this first set from starting this year of 2022 has become pass-fail. The second set is still scored. So yes, there are still some scoring attached to getting into residency, but it's much less. They literally took out half an exam.
But what is the extracurricular? One is research. What else are they?
Sure. So there's research,
Okay.
there's volunteer experiences, there's a research experiences, which is different from research because research refers to abstracts, publications, and presentations.
Okay.
There's also between those three, there's a couple of more I can't just list off the top of my head, but you can find all of this online if you search up 2022 match statistics charting outcomes, and they have by each residency that's been filled with spots what the average applicant had in terms of number of publications, number of research experiences, number of volunteer experiences, and all of that.
I thought, Jacob, that research was you had to go to a laboratory at a big university center with some PhD that's running some multi-million-dollar thing with, rats or mice. Is that not research?
So today's day and age, that's the field of research has expanded to include much more than that. Research could be anything that you find and possibly publish that will enhance academia. So you don't necessarily have to be in a lab. For example, I mentioned case studies, right? You could have a patient come in with an interesting presentation. For example, this is just off the top of my head, patient comes in with a toothache and it ends up that that's a symptom of a heart attack. But and this actually I think has been documented, but this is an interesting presentation. Then you do the whole workup of the patient, you write a case report, you give an introduction, you give a discussion, and you get that published. So that's what a case study is. Now, what you were mentioning, working in a lab, that's more like bench research. Things like that take a lot of time. Unfortunately, medical students only have so much time. So they have to find different avenues to pursue research besides the bench research you just mentioned.
Herb, you know what, Dr. Bravo? I think it's the way they used to call it when we were residents, uncommon presentations of common diseases.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. I'm just very curious as to why do you think this is a push towards more academic physicians, because we need less academic physicians and more physicians taking care of people?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure why. Um, I'm not 100% sure why, but that's just the name of the game nowadays.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's because like all fellowships have a component of research. In residency, when I get resumes of doctors, I get 2 and 3 pages of listings of different research projects. And I was looking at them and I was saying, my God, when did they have time to do all this? And when did they have time to see patients if they had to do all this? So I think
Yeah.
ingrained from minute one of intern, well, actually from pre-medical admissions until the whole thing to fellowship.
You know, thinking on it, you asked me why. All of the great innovations in medicine started off in the laboratory. So I think maybe they're kind of pushing the kind of innovative spirit that medicine is all about by essentially telling students and making them do research. It kind of opens them up to this kind of field.
Perhaps, but we have a national shortage of doctors, and it's only getting worse. Um, I think the main job of a doctor is to take care of people. And if you're taking care of people, there's not a lot of time left for research. Um, so it's interesting that they're going that way. How many publications do you think a medical student should be aiming for?
So honestly, there's really no right answer. But I will tell you this, I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone. I'm not sure if you know who Grant Cardone is. He's a multi-billionaire entrepreneur, motivational speaker. And he talks about the 10X rule. What is the 10X rule? I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a med student and he or she decide to do 2 publications a year. So as the year is going by, they finish their 2 publications. In fact, they have time for a 3rd publication. The end of the year passes. Wow, they did 3 publications. Now let's take it back to the beginning of the year again. He or she originally had a goal of 2 publications. Using the 10X rule, you take the 2 multiplied by 10, you get 20. So their goal now is 20 publications. The year is passing by, they're working, they're hustling, they're trying to get those 20 publications out. They get 9 publications out during the year. The year is over. Now, don't get me wrong, they did not reach their goal, but you can see 9 is much better than 3. And it feels much better to fall short of a massive goal than it does to fall short of a mediocre one. And that's what the 10X rule is about. So what I mean to say is set your goals high and aim for the stars. That being said, I mentioned before there are match statistics online for different specialties. And arguably one of the more difficult specialties to get into is dermatology. So if you quickly open that up and you look at the average number of publications that dermatology residents have before they get into residency, it's 21. So if you set a high goal of whatever you need to set, you can. If you set a high goal, you can. It's okay. You can set a high goal. You can reach it.
All right. And then what have you done research?
So for my research, I actually came up with an organization. I call it the Med Research Initiative. It's an organization about 15 to 20 individuals, as well as 3 clinics. That between the three of the clinics, they have over 100 years of experience. So I started this organization in order to get pre-med and medical students together and connect them with clinical sites as well as physicians in order to teach them how to do research and get their names on publications.
Wow. And what's the name of this organization again?
Med Research Initiative. We're in the process of finalizing a website so more people can get involved, and we've already done quite a few number of papers. Like if you go online and search up our names, my name, or the list of students I'm with, you will find quite a few articles written by us, published on PubMed and all of that.
And how did you come up with this idea?
So like I said before, I came into medical school with very limited knowledge of research. So and then in medical school, I actually met one of my mentors, a great physician by the name of Dr. Maria Lovato. She's an OBGYN physician. She was actually a preceptor at my medical school. And as soon as we met, we sort of hit it off and we developed a very close relationship. Outside of academia, she actually has her own OBGYN practice. So now I brought up the subject of research and publishing, and she said, let's do it. She also didn't have much experience. And together we started doing work, we started publishing. And through that, I realized, I want to give back. I wish someone had come to me when I was a pre-med and said, Jacob, this is what you need to do to enhance your application, make it even more competitive, and essentially show me how to do research. I'm sure that if I had the publications in pre-med that I have today, my application to medical school would have been much more competitive. So kind of in that vein, I wanted to help out pre-meds. Another thing I had realized is that my fellow medical students, like me, a lot of them didn't know how to start pursuing research. So I started inviting them. And through that, like I told you, I was able to start an organization.
So
Wow.
like anybody, he found the problem, resolved the problem, and now he's sharing the information with others. I mean,
Wow,
he's a
that's
solver of problems. I love him.
yeah, that's very, very interesting. I'm still stuck on the idea that medical school should be training physicians to take care of people. And it seems like they're putting a lot of emphasis in you sitting down and writing papers for the journals, which is not, when you're in the real world of medicine, 85% of us, I would say, seeing patients, we're not thinking about writing papers. We're trying to build relationships and fix people problems.
And I agree with you, Dr. Bravo. On one hand, I do see why the research could be beneficial, because a lot of the case studies I'm doing, because I do specialize in case studies, they're about patient presentations, disease processes. Medical school is supposed to be teaching you how to be a physician, but it's also supposed to be giving you a knowledge base in order to do that. And the research, I feel like, could enhance that knowledge base.
That's a good take on it. I agree. And you said the website is not been launched yet, but when it is launched, we'll put it in the show notes so people can go and sign up and learn more about your project. Do you plan to continue doing this through the rest of your life, or what's the plan for this project?
So actually, you mentioned how people can sign up. I just want to quickly talk about that. I'm always looking for new people. The more the merrier. In fact, I recently became friends with a colleague, a fellow student of mine in my medical school. He was a physician, a radiologist in Nigeria, and he came here and he had to redo medical school. And he has with him a lot of case material. And I just want to show and talk about I'm always looking for new people. And he approached me, and I was able to guide him, and he was able to join my organization. And I was able to guide him to the nuances of publishing papers. Now, to answer your question, how much do I plan on continuing this? Even in residency, when you apply for fellowships, they ask you to do case reports, case studies, case reports. Now, they don't ask you to publish them, but they ask you to do a write-up of them. In this sense, I'm planning on continuing doing research for a long while, because the way I see it is, yes, it takes a little bit of time, but it's also enriching the field of medicine and academia. Because how many times, I think Dr. Rogu can attest, how many times does he see an interesting case presentation that he wants to, share with the world, like, oh, this and this happened, this is really interesting.
And once you're done with your residency, do you plan to be? I understand you want to be a dermatologist. You want to be an academic dermatologist, or you want to be in private practice?
I'm not sure yet. I'm keeping my options open. Dermatology is a very competitive field to get into, so
Okay.
I'm keeping the options open.
And
So I'm not sure. I haven't made a final decision yet.
okay,
Well, I'm hoping he'll do pediatrics and join us, but whatever.
but but once
I am having such a good time at Dr. Rogu's office. Pediatrics is still in the cards, Dr. Rogu.
but once you're done with the residency, do you plan to stay in academia, or do you want to go out and take care of patients?
So I wanna go out and take care of patients, right? For whatever I choose, I want to open up my own practice. However, the way that Dr. Maria Lavada, the OBGYN, the way that she was able to help me and get me on my feet and just establish a relationship with me, I want to be able to do that for students. So even though I'm going to go off on my own, I want to continue this, and I want to, give back.
And so the organization that you've created, what's the name of it?
Med Research Initiative.
And so you plan to keep running that once you are practicing too?
At the time being, that is the plan. For the time being, that is the plan.
So you work with other students to prepare these research projects, right? You don't just
Of course. Yeah.
give them some paper, here, follow this. You work with them one-on-one and you tell them exactly what to do.
100%. And the other students, these other students have been with me for a while, so they know exactly what needs to be done. So let's say at some point I'm busy, I'm sure the other students, residents at this point, would be interested in leading if for whatever reason I'm not able to. I want to keep this organization alive as long as possible, so everyone can derive the maximum benefit out of it.
And does this organization take a lot of money to run, or?
No, the thing is, on top of everything, research and publications, when you get accepted to publish, you have to pay a publishing fee. And this fee can range from $300 to $5,000. And
who do you pay the publishing fee to?
To the company that publishes your work. There are many companies out there, and that's just the way it is. And I did want to mention that this does put a little bit of financial strain on medical students who are already financially strained. Paying for medical school is not cheap. But like I said, it's just something that it's been evolved into. In order to qualify for a good residency, you need to do this.
So when you tell me you're paying to publish these articles, are you telling me that if I'm going to publish something in the New England Journal of Medicine, they want $5,000 to publish it?
I'm not sure about, the New England Journal of Medicine is a really big deal. I'm not sure about how they work. I published with other kinds of journals, but so far my experience has been from 500 to 1,000. Maybe the bigger journals charge more, or maybe they charge less because they are a bigger journal and they are prestigious. But I wouldn't know off the top of my head the pricing.
Okay. That's a new concept to me. I always thought these things got published because of, the relevance to the specialty which they're covering.
And one more, and another thing I want to talk about is, so the publishing fee is split up among the authors. So you asked, how does the financial aspect of it work? Just the publishing fee we just split it up among the authors. So possibly $1,000 paper with 5 authors gets split 5 ways, $200 each.
Oh,
okay. Is there a guarantee that the article will be published, or?
They only take the money if you're approved for publication.
Oh, that's good.
So you can send in the article, and if it's not up to par academically speaking, and they reject it, you don't have to pay.
That's good. That's good.
Wow. That this is all very interesting and very new to me. Very, very interesting. Well, I think it's great that you're doing this for others. It's kind of a coaching service for medical students and residents.
How is it working with your classmates? Anybody doing this with you, or?
So I do have fellow medical students who are in the organization with me, participating, learning how to do it. I do plan on in the organization within the organization giving them their own projects with students as well to get it done. Like, I'm always looking to expand to like you always say, Dr. Rogu, efficiency. The more we can do, the better.
Mm-hmm. And where do you get your cases from? So I presume if there are any physicians out there that listen to our podcast, if they have any strange cases or uncommon presentations of common illnesses, as many would remember them as, maybe they can reach out to you and say, hey, Dr. Jacob, I have this case. Maybe you can get some students and let's work it up.
Of course, yeah, and of course, it goes without saying that the physician who I'm working with gets their name as an author on the paper as well. And yeah, that's definitely. So you asked where do I get the physicians from? Like I mentioned, the organization is associated with 3 clinics, and 2 of these clinics, who have been in practice for a long time, they have seen some very interesting stuff.
Yeah, he's actually working on one with a case that we had of a presentation of a kid with, I'm not going to say, but some weird presentation of a common disease presented uncommonly. So we found all the records, we reviewed it together, we're going to print it up, write it up nicely, package it, and then, print it, I guess, right, Jacob?
Yep, that's how it is.
Very, very interesting. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your time with us. Fascinating insights into what medical students are doing today.
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck in residency and private practice, and do hope you come back at some point and tell us where you are in your journey.
Do you have any words that you want to leave to your classmates or anybody that's going to watch this video?
Going to medical school is a big decision, and if you're fortunate enough to get in and you're having a tough day, remember that 5 years ago or a couple of years ago, you were praying to be where you are at now. So stay
Great.
strong, hold on tight.
Great.
All
right, Dr. Bravo, Dr. Rogu, thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Good day. Bye-bye.